years, the Civic has seen many Type R models, the EK9, the EP3 and the FK8. And I have to mention the new FL5, by the way. It looks awesome. But this is the FN2, and the FN2 followed the EP3, which was a tough thing to do, and it wasn't rated anywhere near as good, even though it still had the K20 engine. But this is the last ever Type R Civic to feature a naturally aspirated engine. So is it now time we appreciate the FN2? I think so. I'm Max Aftervani. Welcome to Driven Plus. The problem was, when this car was released, it had the same power as the EP3, 198 horsepower. Well, that wasn't necessarily the problem. The problem was the whole car's weight. It weighed 120 kilos more than the EP3. So for it to be faster than the car, it had to be lighter, or you had to give it more power. None of that happened. And the engine is the famous K20 engine, 2-litre inline-4 engine, but this engine doesn't produce 198 horsepower, it produces 230, thanks to a few things: different manifold, air intake, ECU map, and a 3-inch exhaust. Apparently, this will do an 0 to 60 time of 6.6 seconds, so let's find out. So it's time to launch the Civic Type R FN2 from 0 to 60. On your screen now are the stats and figures on this car, so pause your screen if you want to look into them. Now, this car does have launch control mapped in. It's actually running a little bit more than standard as well. And if I put it in first gear, you can hold it at around 4,000 if I want to go more, 4.5, 5, if I want to bring it down. We're going to start with 4,000 and see what it does. So, car coming up behind me, let's let it go. Nice little Porsche, which sounds very nice. I like that, mate. Okay, so here we go. A lot of wheel spin. Come on, what are we going to get? Whoa, 7.65 seconds. It was hopping everywhere, it was wheel spinning, it wasn't a very good launch. Oh, we're going to have to go again. It was all over the place. Run 2, I've put the traction control back on, see if it makes a difference. No. 7.17 instead. Yeah, not much of a big difference, but it did bog down. Let's go third run. Let's try and get a sub 7 second 0 to 60 time. Here we go, last run. Oh, 7.04. Almost. I don't think the tyres are helping. Very, very close. There we go. We're going to leave it there. Back to the review. Inside of the car, and I have to say it's a very unique place to be. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of screens. So you've got one screen there for your navigation, your audio and your radio, another screen for the time, another screen next to it for the speedometer, and then below that you've got your rev counter and your fuel gauges. There are a lot of things going on and all your buttons are here, but I feel as if once you get used to it, as I could imagine, it gets quite easy to live with. Here is your 6-speed manual, and above there is your little Type R plaque. Because this is the Championship White, it's number 469 because they made 600 of these models. That's quite a nice thing to look at. Bit of a storage unit down there, a nice place to put your phone. Glove box is massive, and these seats are really hugging. Obviously Type R on the backrest there, and they're super supportive as well. You've got your armrest, which is a nice place to be, and all the materials is well, they're hard plastic. It's typical Japanese, and in the middle there you've got your 2 cup holders, and the steering wheel is nice and thin to hold, but as a whole it's quite a unique place to sit. The FN2's design was definitely out there. How many spoilers have we got going on? 1 and 2, and you've got the split rear window as well, and kind of the light bar going throughout the car. Triangle exhaust pipes, which sound something like this. One more. Okay, time to get on the road. Now, as much as I think this is a great car, I think Honda messed up. They sold around 11,000 FN2 to the UK, which is still a great number. But in Honda's homeland, Japan, they had something called the FD2, which is a saloon version, and they're classed as one of the best Type R Hondas ever made. And with the FD2, you had more power at 225 horsepower, and you still had the K20 engine in. And although this is a great car, it certainly didn't help knowing the fact that there was a better car out there which was only exclusive to the Japan market. Honda also offered you a couple special versions, the M200, the Championship White, which is this one right here, but they all had the same suspension, brakes, same power output. The only difference was the body kit. But Honda also offered a very rare M20 model. Only 20 were ever made. You had more power than the standard car at 256 horsepower. And it had a bigger engine, 2.2 litre. Very rare car, and that's certainly the FN2 Type R to have. But let's be honest, the EP3 is a very raw car. It makes for the perfect track car, certainly more than this does. But I think the FN2 looks better. It's definitely shoutier on the outside. You still have K20 engine, which is all great, and it sounds amazing. Last of its kind, by the way. It's more refined, and by the way, it's much more firmer than the EP3. For good reason. Honda gave the EP3 independent suspension all round, whereas on the FN2, it had a torsion beam and trailing arm setup on the rear. And yes, when you compare it to its predecessor in terms of technology, it's a step back, but it's been proven over time that this handles just as well as the EP3. But I think the VTEC comes in soon on this, so you've got more power at an earlier stage. It's amazing! Well, what's it like on a country road? Well, you have to remember the front suspension is still independent, so front end feel is amazing, but it's a very firm ride, and it gets even firmer when you're at slow speeds going over bumps. It gets a bit crashy. And if you speak to every FN2 Type R owner, they're going to know about Clarkson's review. And it's not as if Clarkson slated the car, he just said it wasn't really a major improvement over the old EP3. That's not a bad thing. EP3 was a brilliant car. It's the same with this. And later came the LSD, so the car got better over time. So what's the standout thing? Well, it's that thing in front of me. It's K20 engine. This is the last Civic Type R to feature a naturally aspirated engine. And for that, we have to be appreciative of the FN2. And there's nothing quite like bringing the K20 up to its red line. And it will carry on all the way to 146 miles per hour. I have to say, one good thing is the clutch feel and manual gearbox. It's a match made in heaven. It makes this car an absolute dream to drive. The downshifts, just the kind of feel of the clutch, and the short throws from gear to gear, spot on, really is. So if you're thinking of buying one, why not? Go and do it. You get to experience that K20 engine for a relatively cheap price. But I'd like to say a massive thanks to Josh for allowing me to come and get this review on this lovely Championship White FN2 Type R today. Really enjoyed my time behind the wheel, so thank you, mate, and good to meet you. Thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel for more content coming up, and we shall see you soon. Thank you and goodbye.